Testing 1 2 3. Hey guys, hi, and welcome back to my channel. If you guys don't know by the title, this is the first in my series that I will be making, finally bringing it onto YouTube. It's called If the Months Were Dresses, What Would They Look Like? And kicking off, we have January, finally completed. Yes, she is 95% done. If you have no idea what I am talking about, really quick, last year on my Instagram and a little bit on TikTok, I started this challenge where I designed dresses based off of each and every month. And obviously you got to start off with the first of the month, January herself. So I had designed 2 designs per month and then had you guys vote on which design you wanted to see. Those votes are in and we are going to be making whatever you guys picked. Super scary. This is her. This is January in her 95% glory. Let me give you the background story of how she was created. So each month, I don't want it to be very cliche on what you initially would think about every time you say the month. A little bit of that so that you know which month it is, but I wanted to give the vibe and feel, or maybe tell a different story for each month, right? And last year, a few years ago, probably post-pandemic, like right after, I saw this beautiful sunrise. Like, it was gorgeous. You could not tell me that this wasn't a winter sunrise. If you live anywhere that snows, the minute that you look at those clouds, you knew that it was winter. So I decided to base that sky, that image, into a dress. And you guys can let me know whether or not I achieved that. That is where the design for January came from. Now, without further ado, let's go and make her. For material used for the January dress, there's this pinkish purple satin and organza. Let's go with magenta colored. We have a blue satin, like a navy blue, that I used for my birthday dress a few years ago, and this blue, navy blue cotton material. You need a zipper, thread of light colors and elastics. You'll need a measuring tape, tailor's chalk, pins, scissors, and a ruler. All right, so I made this pattern based on other patterns that I've made before, or based on my tailor's book that I have. So this is the top center for the shelf bra for the dress. I wanted a shelf bra on all of these dresses, the bottom half of the dress and the back panel. Now pause and see how there are darts in these things. This will be important later on. Hold on. I made these patterns based off of my basic bodice block. I've actually recorded a whole video on how I made this block before. If you want to go check it out and make your own basic block, you can make a ton of different patterns from these blocks itself. It's really just a vest and you add on to it. Then go ahead and click the eye and you'll go straight to that video. You could also purchase my step-by-step download on my website on how to do it, but first, let's cut out these pattern pieces. All right, and here I'm just showing you how I've kind of altered my basic block to get these patterns in the first place. Once again, notice how there are darts in these patterns. It's been made larger to give shape with these darts. Pause and hold on to that because that will come back to haunt me later. But leaving that unknown train wreck for now, we're going to go back to a much simpler A-line skirt that I made. I just made the length that I wanted and sectioned it off into 7 tiers for the underskirt. So we're going to go ahead and cut those out. Once everything is cut out, we could go ahead and cut out our patterns and our actual fabric. Right sides together. First, we're going to cut out our shelf bra. My shelf bra had 3 layers to it. We had 2 in the cotton and 1 in the satin material. I think back then I didn't know if I wanted the satin on the blue or the purplish magenta. We said magenta color, so we're just gonna cut out the cotton for now. So for the skirt lining, I had a problem. I didn't know if I actually had enough material to make all of the lining pieces. So I had to lay everything out visually for myself to see if this was even possible. I also laid out to see if I needed the shelf bra like over good side to be there. And yeah, so I decided that I think I did have enough material, so we're just gonna hope and pray that we do. I had to add seam allowance to the bottom of the first layer and the top and bottom of the other layers because seam allowance wasn't added in the pattern since I just cut it out straight. So you'll see me adding the seam allowance for both the top and bottom for like the middle tier section. If you don't know what seam allowance is, basically it's an extra part off of your pattern so that you're able to actually sew your pattern together to the correct size. If you don't add seam allowance to it and you just sew straight, your garments will always be smaller than what you think. Okay? Okay. For the ruffle tiers in the organza, I just created rectangles because we were going to ruffle it anyway, so didn't really need much of a pattern for that. This involves a lot of math, okay? So all of those people who thought art and like fashion design doesn't need math, you need math. Use it on a daily basis. So the length or width of our ruffles, what the heck is that? Ruffles have to be double the length of our lining skirt so that we actually have a gathered ruffle in the end. Does that make sense? It needs to be twice as big so that you can make it smaller and then you have all your woo 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 gathers. Now that we have our patterns all cut out, I'm going to start with the shelf bra piece because it was the most confusing to me at the time. Basically, what I wanted to do was make sure that there was an inserted layer so I could add cups if I felt like I needed more coverage, which I actually don't, but before I wasn't quite sure. So I was measuring out how long the bottom is and then was going to sew down in the half mark here so that the cups don't move around from one side to the other. And I wanted to find where the two middles were for each side. So a quarter on one side, and you'll see that I cut out a small stip bit and then I serge the edges of that opening where I could actually insert cups into this shelf bra. Once that's done, I am going to close up the bottom as best I can, and I'm going to layer the other piece of cotton over top of it, and we're just going to straight stitch the bottom, making sure that there is no opening, like there's no gap where I did it. And then we're going to flip it inside out and measure how big the elastic is. I probably should have done this beforehand, but you know, hindsight 2020. And you're just going to sew a straight line so that we have a channel to actually insert the elastic. And this is how we're going to make sure that the bra section is actually hugging close to your body, because as you saw, this is an upper back concept. Now we have gotten to the skirts. Oh my gosh, this took so freaking long. So first things first, for the organza and for the satin, I actually did not have enough material to make flat patterns. So I decided to try something new. I made French seams to put the two pieces together. So how you sew a French seam is you actually sew wrong sides together first. Then you iron it out, as so. You cut off any of the extra of the seam allowance on again, and then you're going to sew it right sides together so that when you open it up, you have a little sandwich. You have like a little sandwich of where your raw edges are, and it's actually so clean you don't notice anything. And I mean, I did this on both the satin and the organza, and to be honest, this is from now on how I'm putting organza or see-through fabric together, because the French seam makes it so clean. There's no raw edges, there's no need to serge or anything like that. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for the French seam. And it was a lot less complicated than I thought it was. I was always so nervous on how to sew French seams before, but I think I got it down pat. Anyways, tangent. What we're doing now, we're sewing our shells together. We're sewing the skirt shells together. So this is going to be the inside layer, and you have to sew together for the outside as well. This is where I do the French seam once again on the organza. Once I did that for most of the tiers, we're actually going to take a pause, and I'm going to deal with the straps of this dress. Now, I wanted really long straps, and you know what that meant? It meant I made this whole lot of ribbon. I made a whole lot of ribbon out of the organza. It was way too much, and I still need to cut some off. But now I know how to make these ribbons. So I did a spiral ribbon so that you have like that, yeah, that makes sense. This like ripply ribbon, I don't know what it's called, effect on the straps. So as you can see, I'm just here ironing it out, and I had to deal with actually like the raw edges of this. So there are 3 ways you could actually deal with raw edges when it comes to organza. You can either do a zigzag stitch, which is what I ended up doing on the outside, as you can see here. So you do a zigzag stitch on the edge, make sure that the zag and the zig actually goes outside or over top of the fabric so that when it comes back in, it pulls tight. And then you just snip off any of the loose threads. You can fold it over. So do a double line. Oh, what is it called? Basically, you fold your raw edge over once. Typically you would sew it down, then you would fold it over a second time so that once again it's encased. So you could do that. That's a lot easier when your fabric's not as small as my own, that is what, an inch. And the third thing is to use bias tape and sandwich the raw edges together. So I did bias tape for the bottom half that's actually going to be sitting on your skin, because I figured it would be a lot softer. Alright, jumping back into the skirt portion apparently.
Jaja time. 6:30, dinner with me. I can't so down in bed. 7 o'clock, wrestle with my self-loathing. I'm booked.
So apparently I hit the pause, and I'm just jumping all over the place when it comes to making this. Honestly, at this point, it has been an entire year, and I've come back to this project to finish it off. So a lot of this was just me figuring out where the heck I was in this project. Anyways, what I was saying before is we've got to actually ruffle this organza. So as you can see, I put it on the longest stitch. I put it on the longest stitch length, and we are just going to do a straight stitch from one side to the other. Now you're going to do 2 of these, one on top and one on the bottom, to ensure that everything's all fine, dandy, and good. And you're going to just pull on either the 2 bottoms or the 2 tops, it really doesn't matter, and start to gather all of your fabric into the middle to make your ruffles. Got it? Now I had to do this 4, 7 tiers, and I did it twice because I did it to the top, the organza, and I did it to the satin, and I actually didn't have to do it to the satin. I don't know what happened in my brain when I came back, but I was like, oh yeah, you gotta do this to the satin too. Wrong. Save yourself the energy and just do it to the organza, because that is the only thing that's ruffling. What is ruffling underneath? That one's not bigger. You didn't make that bigger, you made it to size. Anyways, PTSD, but yeah. I don't know if you can see how over it I am, or how many different shows I went through while I was doing this. You know when you get to a point in the project where you're just like, I just want this to be done. You know, a painting's never done. No. I wanted this to be done, or at least to a point where I could, you know, put it on, show it off, and then come back to it later when I had my sanity back to fix it. So that's kind of where we're at. But oh my goodness, Inuyasha, Bleach, Anastasia, Christmas movies in between this, like it. This wasn't even the point of insanity yet. I'm still doing the ruffles. Anyways, continue on. Like one eternity later, and we're still here, still doing these ruffles. This is what I mean by save yourself the time and the energy and just do it to the organza. LaSalle, I don't know what you were thinking by doing it to the bottom as well. Anyways, once that is finally done, we can move on. Okay, I need to read up on how to connect this mic properly to my other camera because it didn't really pick up much. But basically what I was saying is I have my ruffles for my straps, and I did a zigzag stitch over top, and I have to cut off the excess fabric, excess loose edges that are outside of it, which is what I said previously that I was going to do. But I'm just here to create bias tape out of the same material that the inner lining of the skirt is made out of. So I have to just make multiple layers of straight lines, 1-inch rectangles, so that we can create bias tape for all of those ruffles. And I also need to create little eyelets out of the blue so that we could actually have a place for the straps to basically attach to the dress at the back so we can tie it. Now that we have all of these ribbon pieces, we're going to make one long ribbon. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the edges and you're just basically going to lay them box size, right sides together, and sew on that diagonal that I showed from one edge, one corner to the other corner. So that way when you cut out the excess in the middle and you flip it over, it just becomes one extended piece of ribbon without tension pulling on the stitches itself, so that it won't break, it won't damage or anything like that. It is a very easy method to create longer ribbon out of pieces of fabric where you don't actually have the length to create one long piece of ribbon or bias tape or anything of that sort. And you don't actually see the stitches like where they're attached all that much, and if you do, well, hey, it's just an extra design feature. Now if I thought doing the gathering was a lot of work, this is what took me off. This is when I was really like, okay, LaSalle, you really are overambitious. There was no way you were finishing this last year. I'm glad that you took a year off from this project because, well, damn. So I had to take all of that bias tape that I made, fold it over to sandwich it, like I said, third method on how to finish off organza or any like see-through fabric like this, especially fabric that when you have it like an inch, you make bias tape. So as you can see, you're just folding it over. You make sure the raw edges of the bias tape are on the inside. You sandwich it together and you sew. And you sew and you sew and you sew. Look at how much that is. Ay, ay, ay. Overkill is an understatement. Oh my gosh, this little thing I got off of Amazon. This is one of my best purchases for my sewing room because look at all that mess the organza left. And it's just vacuuming it right up. I mean, the bigger pieces, as you can see, I'm kind of just taking it off and declogging it. But all those little frays and hairs, it just sucks it right up. And all those little frays and hairs, it just, you know, gets rid of them from everywhere. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. And we're back. We are back to the top. Okay, remember how I said that there was darts in this pattern? Yeah, I completely forgot that. And I didn't actually look at my pattern again. So, joke's on me. I am the problem. So when you look at the final piece, you'll see that the back's a little bit big for me. That's literally because I forgot to do the darts. And I'm so mad I never looked at my pattern. Anyways, we're creating little ribbons or little keyholes, eye holes, holettes. Anyways, we're making little straps so that we are able to actually attach our ribbon to go through on either side. There's going to be one right underneath the armpit and then one a little further down right above where the back is going to meet the front. So we're just sewing that and serging that. We're going to flip those pieces over so that we're all good and dandy and cut it in half so we have all even pieces, and we're going to basically make a loop and sew that right into our top half. Now, I wasn't quite sure if I liked how the top was drawn with the organza, so I decided I was going to try doing some draping. I really need a new mannequin because do you see how this thing is bending over? And not in the good way. Anyways, so I was trying to drape like I saw all the TikTok sewists do. Very inspiring. I wanted to be like them. And this is what you got me on the floor, basically crouching down. Anyways, I tried draping this on my mannequin and, you know, I got it to a point where I kind of liked it. When I took it off of my mannequin, I no longer liked it. And I no longer liked how, you know, everything kind of looked. So I pleated it myself while I was sitting at my desk. No shame in my game. My draping didn't work. We'll try again. I'm going to get this draping technique down. Trust me. It's just taking me a little time. Maybe a new mannequin would help. Who knows? So I needed to pleat this on the outside before I added my shelf bra into it. I'm going to add our straps either end onto the top part here, and I'm actually going to fold over the top piece because I decided I wanted it to be coming off of the dress to give a little structured moment. We did it a little bit differently. This is just a loose stitch so that I'm able to pull it out afterwards. We did it a little bit differently than how I draped it before. Did more of the sort of pleat this for the straps, and I realized that this was the length of this entire thing, like from here to here. That's not what I wanted. I wanted it just to be here so it has a low back. So okay, now that's done, we're gonna sew the back panel on only one side because the other side is where the zipper is going to be inserted,
which means we must be inside a demon's belly.
The skirt, and as you can see, this is what I mean. I didn't have to actually pleat or gather the skirt for the inner lining part. But anyways, so what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna undo the organza first, put that on the right side of your fabric. Oh, right, I added this belt, or this I added this waist belt. I don't really know if it did anything because it was in the same color. It looked cool on the sketch, so I added it. I mean, hey. But anyways, you're going to sandwich them together so that it's the base organza and then the shell layer for the skirt over top, and you're going to sew that together. You're going to even out the gathers, yada yada. Now when you're doing the next tier, you're going to leave the organza on the top. You're going to put organza and the shelf for the next one, and you're going to continue down like that. So I think I did 3 tiers before I added in the zipper on the side. So did 3 tiers down and then added the zipper. Cool. Once that's done, it's pretty much the same thing repeated over and over. You add the rest of the tiers going downwards. The only difference is where the opening was for the tiers, I didn't put it on the side as same side as the zipper. I added it more to the front where I wanted the slit to be, so the slit is the natural slit of where the 2 pieces would have come together in the first place. Cut off all the ridge edges and stuff. Does this dress need a little bit more work? Yeah, I mean, probably. Is it wearable? Yes, absolutely. Do I need to let it sit before I come back to it? 110%, because I was so over this dress by the time it was finished. It's still sitting. I'm still upset I didn't do my darts properly. But if you guys made it to the end of this video, I hope you give it a like. I hope you subscribe for February's dress, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.